Welcome to another episode of Michigan Tech's Husky Hour. In this episode of Husky Hour, you'll hear about other students' experiences with finding their space at Michigan Tech, and how you can work to find your own space at college. Enjoy!
All right, hi everybody. We're going to discuss finding your place at Michigan Tech today for our Husky Hour. So I'm Dana Browning. I work for the Center for Student Mental Health and Wellbeing.
Hi everybody, I'm Hannah. I am one of the interns at the Center for Student Mental Health and Wellbeing.
Hi, I'm Bailey. I am also one of the psychology interns this semester. I am a fifth-year psychology student.
I'm Nate. I'm a fourth-year civil engineering major. I'm in Air Force ROTC.
Hi, I'm Nathan. I'm technically an 11th year mechanical engineering student. I'm a PhD student here at Michigan Tech.
I'm Kira. I am a fourth year mechanical engineering student. I'm also in Air Force ROTC.
Zofia. Hi, I'm a third year systems engineering major, and on campus I'm affiliated with SWE, the Society of Women Engineers, and USG, the undergraduate student government.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a fifth year environmental engineering major, and I am also in Air Force ROTC.
Hi guys, my name is Peyton Bainbridge. I am a fourth year chemistry major with a business minor. I am on campus. I'm an academic success coach.
Okay, so as we kind of gave you a brief introduction, we just wanted to talk about, finding your space on campus. Who are you? How did you become yourself now? What are some of the most important communities that you belong to at MTU?
So I'm currently only affiliated with one group, the graduate student government at Michigan Tech. So I'd say that's the most important one I'm affiliated with. Basically, the student government for Michigan Tech, giving us a voice to the students. But in the past, I've also been involved with the undergraduate student government, the Inter-Residence Housing Council, Waterfall Hall Student Association. So a lot of different student governments on campus. I think it's a really important thing to be involved with. You can sort of give the students a voice to the administration. And I've also in the past been a part of the aerospace enterprise at Michigan Tech, which I think has definitely shaped my professional career more than any other thing that I've been a part of. So I would highly say that the enterprise programs are really important and useful to join.
On that note of being kind of affiliated with different communities, I'd say the communities that are most important to me now are not student orgs, but I found those communities by going to student org events and being part of student orgs. Everyone's communities are unique and not necessarily just like their affiliations and what their job or major or orgs are, but those are great ways to find people that you do connect with, even if you're not so sure you want to be part of the organization altogether.
So I think the Water Center was a great community for myself, just to learn about myself and where I can help other students with. But also I think Michigan Tech has a really great culture where communities aren't always organizations or affiliated with the university itself. So like, for example, my third year, I was in this class for chemistry and it was terrible and it was the worst class ever. But the people in that class, I made a great bond with. And I think we made a little characteristic club is what we called it. But like we make our own organizations and clubs on campus that are not always affiliated with it. So sometimes I know organizations are scary to get a hold of because you're always stressed about school, but you always got to remember community is with the students and Huskies around you. So you can make your own community, which is a great opportunity since Tech is so small and so family oriented, really.
So how do you see people doing that? Like if you're like, yeah, I want to make my own community, like how do you start there? Like you've seen other people doing?
So what we did to start our organization was it started from like us crying at midnight in the library. Unironically, it was something that was like, it was very like wholesome and it was very like focused on school, but we then said, okay, next week we'll just meet at the same time and have pizza. So it started with small things that connect people. So something simple as classes and homework. But then we also realized we all make fun of this. We have similar memes and similar jokes. And then that just went into like, let's have like a powwow session where we all can like vent to each other. And it just turned into just a bunch of chemistry students in the library eating cheese pizza at 11:59 in like a study room, right? So it's starting with small things and just making those small connections. And if that's a difficult thing, also finding people who also are kind of on that like weird kind of not finding other people as well, because you guys can bond over that too.
I think taking the overarching theme from Peyton's like in-person story and trying to apply it to the virtual world, it all comes down to like reaching out to people and making the effort. Like you can use classes or an org or a meeting as like a baseline where you hear someone like make a comment in the thing, and you can like, something that I've done is just straight on Zoom do a direct message like, hey, I really liked your comment in class, like I hadn't thought about that before. And then maybe you'll start a conversation with that person. And if not, then you don't, and you haven't lost anything. But I think when it comes down to it, like, everyone's a little bit lonely these days. And if you reach out to someone and they don't reciprocate, then you haven't lost anything, because if you didn't reach out to them anyway, then you wouldn't have been friends with them. So I think reminding yourself that, like, there's nothing to lose. The worst case scenario is that the person, like, sees your Zoom message or sees your email and was like, oh, I don't really care. Best case scenario, you, like, make a study buddy or make a friend. But unless you reach out, unless you make an effort, nothing's ever going to happen.
Oh, no. I was saying, like, the key to finding, like, your own community is to, like, just join other things that you might be interested in, and then you find, like, that close group of friends in that other organization, and then, like, all of a sudden, boom, now you're your own little family or, like, community group of friends, like, in the other thing that you guys were all interested in.
In terms of, like, actual student orgs and stuff, I just was curious, like, how did you guys find out about them? I know K-Day was kind of a mess this year, just with everybody getting to know everything and your system. Are there some different ways that you can figure out other than K-Day or something like that?
Involvement Link is always the best, and as an academic success coach, I push Involvement Link from day one because I think it is the best hub of information for first-year students or fourth-year students or any student to find activities, organizations, or just clubs, I guess, that may interest you. And the great thing about it is the emails and the contact information on the activity link is always usually up to date. So you can get in contact with people or the club, like president, vice president, you know what I mean? You get all the connection from there. That's how I found about, I'm also in the American Chemical Society. So, like, that's how I found out my first year. So that's always just a great opportunity.
So I know, like, obviously we have a heavy representation from Air Force ROTC, but what is it? There are lots of organizations that have a stronger structure like that, like Army ROTC, Air Force ROTC, even like Greek Life or Pavlis even have a lot of these structures with like mentorship and stuff. What is it like joining an organization where there's a stronger structure than maybe just, and I'm not dissing like Cooking Club because that's super awesome too, but where you really have more systems, I guess, in place?
I would actually argue that, like, it's almost, since it's more of a commitment, you actually form like tighter bonds with people. So, like, yeah, it's a little scary because it is a bigger commitment and it is a lot more structure, but it's like, okay, we're all here together and we're all going to do this together. And I think that really helps.
Yeah, and as far as a sense of community goes in the military, those friendships and stuff sort of form a little bit differently because you go through some stuff that's really hard along the way. So, like, the harder the stuff is that you go through, you end up becoming better friends. It's just sort of how it happens.
I know when I first came to tech, I didn't know anybody. And I joined ROTC, and, like, after that first week, it just felt so nice knowing you had a support group that was there for you. So the more structured organizations, they are going to take up your time, and you're probably not going to have time to do, like, all these other little things. But I would say it's definitely worth investing in.
I'm just kind of reflecting that, like, this almost circles back to what I think Zofia mentioned earlier, like reaching out to somebody in your class. It's that, like, that shared experience of the pain of, like, we went through this, like, you know, an FT or a training exercise, or we went through, you know, even, you know, in athletics going through stuff, or like a tough exam together. And so, like, using these opportunities to bring each other together. Also, you know, just COVID probably is one of those opportunities. But I think there's kind of that scale of, like, if you're comfortable reaching out, then do that, because people are often receptive. But if you need more structure too, then finding an organization with more structure might really help people out too.
What about, like, social media? Because all of us are going to be on Instagram or Facebook every day. Do you guys know of any places that, like, any of the orgs that have these social accounts that might link students to, like, other MTU orgs or anything like that?
You should all follow the MTU Wellness Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages. I post the Twitter posts, or not the Twitter, the Instagram posts, and I spend a lot of time, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Spend a lot of time working on those pictures. If you don't like it, don't tell me, just pretend you do.
Yeah, like, we have our wellness page, but I didn't even know about it until this semester, so I feel like that might be something other students are missing out on.
Greek Life is always up there updating everyone, so that's a great opportunity to see their upcoming events, but also DM them. I know they answer back. So
What were the moments for each of you where it was like, yes, this is where I belong and I found my people? And sometimes it's before you even come to campus, and sometimes it's like never, I guess, for some people. But you know, what was that moment for each of you?
So this was a cool moment for me, actually, because I wasn't going to Tech at the time. I was actually enrolled at Northern. And my best friend went to Tech, and I know Northern. I switched, but my best friend at the time was going to Tech, and she came down to Northern for the Tech versus Northern game, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's so good to see you. I'm just gonna come up to Tech with you this weekend, because why not? Sounds, spontaneous trip. So then I went up there, and she brought me to the hockey game, and we stood in the student section. And if you've not been to a hockey game, hopefully we can have them, or after COVID, please go to them. They're pretty cool. But just being in that environment and like just screaming for the team and just all of that school spirit and energy, and I just felt home. And that was actually when I decided I needed to transfer, was when I was like, I fit in better here.
I'll just preface this with, I don't like country music, but every year working on Snow Statue is like, it's just the greatest thing. Like, that is the only time of year I will listen to country music. And I look forward to it because it's like, in a weird way, it's like really soothing. And it's just like, you're just like hacking away at some snow and it's like, yeah, this is good. This is nice. And yeah, it's just a great time. And like I said, I look forward to it every year. So I guess that's when I feel like a Husky.
Yeah, actually the same thing for me. Snow Statue in a very weird way made me like ROTC more than I ever thought I would. I don't know. It's just, I guess you just kind of have to be there. But we obviously make a statue for Air Force ROTC every year outside the ROTC building. And yeah, we just blast music to the windows like late into the night, and we work on the statue, and it's fun. I don't know.
I think my one's a little different, but my one was pretty much when I felt like I was a Husky was when the leaves started just changing my first year, because it was so green and lush that first 2 weeks, and it just changes automatically. Now you're orange before it goes brown. So one of the times is we walked up Ripley and saw Northern Lights my first year. And it was really weird because it was a surreal experience to be in a place that was, I thought about all of the high school, pretty much like college, you know what I mean? Like, what is it about? Like, it's all that crazy, like, you know what I mean? Like, you think of Michigan State or U of M and these great big campuses, but you go to Tech and it's literally, you're in the most beautiful place on earth, studying something that you love and you've been waiting to study for a long time. So, like, just sitting there looking at the stars and watching the Northern Lights was just insane. And I was like, I'm home.
Well, I guess I'll start off with saying that if you live in the dorms right now and haven't reached out to like the people in your hall, I'd highly recommend doing so, because that, like, the hall that I was in was specifically a first year experience community, so it was all first years, and it was a co-ed hall, which I didn't really think about going into, but all the people who I lived around, I just never had really, like, we had very different interests. Like, they would talk about like first robotics and video games and things that like I tried to listen but couldn't really get behind. And so like pretty much all up until Thanksgiving, I had this like weird relationship where it's like, I felt like I wasn't really bonding with any of the people that I lived near. And then I remember like I was leaving for Thanksgiving break and I was like, okay, I'm going home. And I was like saying goodbye to everyone, and then just like hugging everyone and saying goodbye and being like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm kind of leaving my family to also go home to stay with my family. And just the idea that you don't have to have the same interests or be super similar to the people that you're family with or feel familiar with. Like, people can be there for you and you can be there for others, even if you don't have the same hobbies and even if you're not like hanging out and having the same interests. But you know, we're still Huskies, or you're still in the same hall or sub community or whatever it is. And sometimes that can just be enough to have that shared experience and be supportive, that you don't have to be like besties all the time. And that moment, I just remember leaving things for Thanksgiving and be like, I feel like I'm leaving my family as well. And that was like a big moment for me.
Yeah, I would say probably for me is when I first joined the Air Force Enterprise. I wasn't really given any context about it. Just my friend was like, go. They meet at this time, show up to one of the meetings. It's on the 9th floor of the meme in this tiny corner conference room. So I'm like, oh, he's like, just show up. So I just went up the elevator and walked in the room. And I just like sat down. They looked at me like, who are you? And I was like, oh, Lee just told me to come sit in this room. And they're like, okay, well, cool. Here's your first job. And basically it's like jumped right on into it. And I guess that's sort of like from a very early on knew that's where I wanted to be and fit with that group. So then it just kind of like went really smoothly from there.
Thanks for sharing. And Jamel, welcome. I'm glad you could join us. We were just sharing our, like, the moment that you really felt like you belonged here at Michigan Tech. Like, everybody seems to have a story, and putting you on the spot a little bit here, but.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm Jamel. Sorry I'm late, everyone. I had a lab. We were doing a titration. Took forever, if you know what titrations are. So when did I figure out belong on campus? I don't think, I'm my answer as honestly as I can. On campus in general, not really. Like, that's not the community as all. The overarching tech community, no, I don't feel like I belong, but I made my own community here. That's the thing. I think that's where it feels, not to make everybody sad. Like, I think for me, it took a lot of work and rebuilding groups that weren't here when I was a first year. So when me being a man of color, I don't see a lot of other men of color of campus unless they're on a sports team. And they have their own community with their sports team. So there wasn't no niche or community or group dedicated for me. And I tried a lot of things, being in representative student orgs like USG or housing organizations. I even tried trying to join some of the Greek houses here, and just nothing really fit. And so I just made my own. I brought back, me and my friends brought back an older organization that was going for tech for about 4 years. And like, I just developed my own community that, which is like the adult, I think it's a very adult thing to do, because I was going to stay here, and if there wasn't a community already here for me, I needed to make one. I think that's something that people don't really talk about when they talk about finding a community at tech. They don't talk about how much work it really is. Making friends is very different in college than high school. Like, in high school, it's like you see each other every day, like y'all probably have the same class, and then like after you go home from school, some of them might hang out with you after, or y'all just hang out at school. Whereas college, like, most of us all lived in the residence halls our first years, and we can get that sense that we have these people, the people we hang out with are our friends or things like that. And then we're in these periods of growth and development that we try to figure out, like, what is it that we really want out of friendships and what groups we want to be around. And I think that's what makes it really difficult to find your community, because you're starting to figure out, because like being in college, there's such a plethora of different communities you can be a part of, and then you're just trying to figure out where you want it to be. So yeah.
I've noticed a lot of professors put you into breakout rooms, and I have one class, anatomy, that no one speaks in the breakout rooms. Like, we get shoved into these breakout rooms and everyone's camera is just off and there's not a word. Like, I'll say, oh, hey guys, like, what are we supposed to be doing again? What was our dead silence? And I'm like, all right, so we're not doing whatever the topic was we got put in here for. It's cool. Talk to those people. They're struggling through your classes with you. They want to figure out what's going on. Talk to the people in your breakout rooms. You could actually make friends.
When you make those communities, Discord is a great opportunity to start a community. It's just a great opportunity, and it's really easy as an interface. If I don't want to cuss, but if my dumbass can do it, someone else can too. So it's like, it really shows you, and it allows you to start building things that are not there. So I started doing it with students who are long distance, like more than 1,000 miles from tech right now.
I just want to give students an idea of like what they can do, books they can read to help them, how to set up a study space, a space for them. What kind of advice do you guys have for them?
I have a study tip. Something I do that really works for me. So definitely going into a space where it's studying. So it's not the library right now, or maybe the library right now. I'm not too sure. I haven't been there all day. But going into a space where you like to study, and then you do the timer. So I do a 25-minute timer, and I work hard for 25 minutes, and I take a 5-minute break. And then once I do that, It's like 3 or 4 times. I give myself like a 30-minute break or an hour-long break, just so I'm making sure that I'm getting in the zone and focused on this specific task. So yeah, I like that study too.
So there's a resource we have at the Success Center. It's called the 168. I don't know if anyone's experienced it, but pretty much it's 168 hours are in 1 week. And for my procrastination and me, I waste so much time on YouTube. Like I'll start a YouTube video, I'm just gonna watch it, and then I'll do some work, and then I will fall into the rabbit hole. And that's 5 hours later, I wake up and I'm like, what the heck? So what I like to do is the 168, where you pretty much log every 30-minute interval of what you did. And it really allows you to actually see where you wasted time or used time. And I always do these once a month, usually for a comprehension check, to check my procrastination, because it's like a trend, it's a habit, it will maintain. So what I like to tell people is take a week of your life, look at it, dissect it. Did you give yourself enough time to do all your assignments? If not, why? Were there holes of YouTube? Were there like long scrolls on TikTok? Were there like, are you scrolling Instagram looking for the freebie giveaways, right? Like that's something you have to ask yourself. And I think while like starting stuff is good, you always have to check yourself for habits, because those habits are consistent. They'll go through finals week and they will irk you. So if anyone's interested in it, you can look it up online. There's templates, something, but 168, just log your week and you can see visibly where you lost time. And it's haunting, but it's really, really important for students nowadays.
Husky Hour is brought to you by the Center for Student Mental Health and Well-Being. Visit mtu.edu/well-being for more information about programs, events, and workshops. Thanks for listening.